and so has our Borough Council and our staff. So thank you everyone for that commitment.
I would like to say that you people in this room are a wonderful example of why New Britain Borough is what it is. This whole thing was built on volunteer work and labor and efforts, and it is stunning what has been done. And all of us deserve a pat on the back. And Tom, especially you.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to say if anyone in the borough ever has a question about what type of bird is in their backyard, and I've done this, you call Tom. Within minutes, you have an answer.
And keep count of all the birds that they found.
And Siri will show you that picture. Risk.
Okay. Are there any other committee reports? Here? Hearing none, we'll go on to the next item. Planning Commission membership update. Approval of Resolution 2022-12, creation of Planning Commission alternatives and appointment of alternate. Amanda?
So the planning commission has had issues over the last several months with reaching a quorum, having 9 members. And even having 9 members appointed. You did appoint a couple of new members last month, and they're still only at 8. And even having 8 people this last meeting in April, they still weren't able to have a quorum. So one of the options now that the NPC gives us is to create an alternate position. So those people are still part of the planning commission, but they don't count towards the quorum unless they're appointed to fill a seat for somebody, a member that's vacant, or that isn't there that night, basically. So, and you can have a planning commission of from 3 to 9 members. So we're proposing tonight with the resolution is to drop the membership down to 7 people, because it seems like there's enough people that show up on a regular basis that's on the planning commission to hit that 4 members. So it's coming new because of this changes to any zoning code, any land development, you need to be able to have a planning commission that actually can make decisions and make recommendations the night that those things are in front of them, and not continue to delay the process because they can't reach a quorum ever. So we're proposing to lower the number down to 7 people and move one of the members to an alternate position. And so Nicole Kerrigan hasn't been able to attend a lot of the meetings, so we're proposing to move her to the alternate position. She can still attend at any time. If there's one of the 7 members that aren't there that night and she attends, she can be asked to fill in for that role. She can participate fully the entire meeting. The only difference is that she would not count against quorum, and she only would have a vote if she was acting that night as a regular member. But this would give us 7 people at this point, which hopefully we can get 4 people to show up at any given time. And so that's why you have the resolution tonight that creates the alternate positions and moves Nicole to the alternate position, and then gives you 7 members. So hopefully by doing this, we actually can get a quorum finally, and they can conduct business, which they haven't really been able to do in quite some time.
They haven't even been able to reform.
Yeah, they haven't been able to reorg, they haven't been able to approve minutes since last year. They haven't been able to basically do anything at all. So by doing this, a 9-member planning commission is huge. So hopefully 7 works, and if 7 doesn't work, we can evaluate at the end of the year and see if jumping down to 5 may be a better solution. Because you can have up to 3 alternates under the NPC, so we do have wiggle room to move people around if we need to. But if 7's not working, then maybe the magic number is 5. So we just have to figure out what we need in order to make sure that our planning commission is actually able to do their business in front of them finally.
Is Nicole aware of?
She's aware.
I'm actually concerned, the 2 new members really have no background whatsoever.
Most people don't when they get on. They'll figure it out as they go.
Okay, I was gonna say, because I know that In the past, I was offered the opportunity to take classes.
Right now, there's nothing offered for planning commission members that I've seen, so. They'll get the hang of it as you go too.
We faced a similar problem a couple of years ago with the CBC. So without creating an alternate position, we amended the original, what do you call it, constitution document to reduce the number of members. And they've reached a quorum almost every meeting since.
And the difference with that is like planning commission's controlled by the MPC, and they need to be, they have certain requirements that they have to do. That are more stringent than say, the CBC, which is created by the borough. The, planning commission and the zoning hearing board are both controlled by the municipality's planning code, so we have to make sure that your zoning ordinances, your land developments all go through the process correctly, and therefore we have to have the planning commission, or you abolish them completely and you just have a planning consultant who's the one that acts like that role. But they're a little bit more strict as far as we can do with them. And they're a little bit more important to make sure we follow through our requirements.
It seems fairly cut and dry.
Hopefully it solves the problem finally.
Can I have a motion to approve the resolution to change the number of the makeup of the planning commission?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, any opposed? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All right. Next one, Public Works Director contract.
So you've already appointed Coleman Landscaping previously. This is just the actual contract portion of it. The last time you just appointed them and you approved the ordinance, so this is just the contract side of it, just to formalize everything on paper in addition to having the motions you've already passed and the ordinance.
The most important numbers from your standpoint are $65 an hour, and where heavy equipment is used, an additional $60. And the way we've dealt with the heavy equipment is that it requires Amanda's approval before that additional charge is imposed. And that's only for, it's not for mowers, et cetera. It's if Brian has to bring in large equipment.
And then as their cost saving mechanism, we're not mowing as frequently, we're only mowing areas when it's needed. We're working on just making sure that we're conserving as much money as we can and being cost conscious the whole time.
And $60 an hour is quite a bargain for
It really
It
is.
is.
heavy equipment.
It really is.
This is a nitpicking question. When we say that we've assigned Coleman Landscaping as the director,
Mhm.
Coleman Landscaping is a company. Wouldn't we want to say a person within Coleman Landscaping?
You did. It's Brian Coleman within Coleman Landscaping.
Okay, that wasn't clear to me when I was reading.
Yeah, this is just the contract with the company, but you've appointed Brian Coleman with Coleman Landscaping. Yep.
Did that
question,
last
Steve.
meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
It's a great point though. It is Brian.
thank you.
And we do expect Brian to be the one that's working with us, so.
Thanks for the clarification.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the Public Works Director contract with Coleman Landscaping?
So moved.
Any second?
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, please signify approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. The next item is a residual resale use and occupancy program discussion only. This is not something we are going to vote and do tonight by any means. Amanda, would you want to give us just a background of how we?
So this came up recently in conversations with a couple different people on council. And it's something that I've done in the past. This kind of mirrors my lists in the past that have been fairly vetted as well. And we tried to keep it really stringent and focused on really just health and safety. We're not overly concerned about our bigger picture items. It's not proposing the borough to be your home inspector. We make it crystal clear that we're not doing what home inspectors would do. That's not what we're doing. We're really just making sure that the minor, minute things from a safety standpoint are addressed. before you sell your home. You do have the list in front of you. This is just the list that I've used in the past. Obviously, it's discussion points to whatever can get removed or added based on council's opinion, should you choose to move forward. But I wanted to bring this up since it has been brought up a couple of times in the past as various options. And we have had some issues with residents who have moved into the borough, have called us to find out who their water and sewer providers are. For whatever reason, the sellers aren't telling them. And so we don't even have any record of that. We don't know who's got what water and sewer because the borough is serviced by several different entities that are all intertwined in various locations. So one of the things we would probably add to the application is who's your water provider, who's your sewer provider. That way, if we do get calls, we have a general idea of what areas of the borough are covered by which entities as well. So that would be another way to collect data. We'd also be able to know who's moving in. If when they apply for the UNO, they do know who the buyer is. We can update our records on our side. We do have options to edit our software programs so that we can change it. So when we issue a permit to the new person, we can make it so that it's actually in their name. But again, we don't even know that at all right now. So we're at the liberty of purchasing the records from the county periodically. And you can do that like however frequently you want, but they do charge you for the records. So this is another way to get that information too. But again, this is just something that came up that I've done where I've worked in the past. We even get calls from realtors asking us if we require that. So a lot of realtors are already mentally programmed to find out if they need to get the resale UNOs as part of the process. This has been reviewed by the Surrey Realtors Association, and we haven't gotten any kickback or anything from them. They've been fine with the content of this as well, because a lot of the times when you start new programs, you do get a lot of kickback from local realtor associations, as I've learned in the past too. So we've worked with them as well to narrow down the list, and this is things that they have not had issues with in the past.
So the planner.
Help me to understand something, and maybe it's just my misunderstanding. If I decide, if my wife and I decide that we want to sell our house, then it's incumbent upon me to have this done.
Yes.
As opposed to, and this is where I'm confused. When we purchased our house here in town in Mid Avenue back in 1986, we had a home inspection done at our cost by somebody that we hired to tell us if there was anything that needed repair, whatever it was negotiated at settlement of the house.
Mhm.
So I'm a little confused here as to if I'm selling the house, why is it that I'm responsible for having an inspection done, and then if somebody's buying my house, why would they trust me? Because maybe they feel,
So
Steve knows the contractor and they did this and did that,
So with this, the borough would handle. So you would you would give the borough the application, and our building inspectors would go in and go off of this list. And they would pass, fail you, whatever, and mark off what needs to get fixed if you need anything fixed. Then once you pass, you would get issued a certificate from the borough that says you're residential UNO. So it's basically another mechanism to ensure that what you're selling to the buyers. The borough's been involved. The borough's made sure that all your permits are valid. You don't have anything outstanding. In addition, the safety items, the minor safety items are all been checked off and looked at as well. So they're not trusting you that you did it because you're not hiring an inspector. The borough's handling that as the neutral middle party.
It's not replacing a home inspection.
No, you don't.
This will not go to that degree.
No.
Okay, the main purpose for this is two reasons. One is to get the information of a new buyer. Okay, because it could take months for us to get it from county. Okay, by the time it gets back to
Well,
them.
you get a deed filed with the New Borough.
So we would-
That's correct, but it could take months for that to come back.
My
to the
recommendation at that point would be to not.
Well, we send.
Register the deed.
Immediately when we send it into. the
And just use that.
So the purpose for this is to get it immediately, okay? We get that information either through, you typically email addresses, phones, numbers, people's names immediately. We put it into our system immediately. Now we have that information. The other thing is also gives us, well, I mean, we can sit here and talk about the fee. The fee doesn't have to be $100.
Well, it's just that, planning commission went through this last year. We looked at this and we were like very
And what was
anti
wrong
this
with it?
last year.
What was the drawback?
We just felt that it was an overreach by the borough.
Yes.
I feel like.
Okay, so, all right, so I have two situations right now where I work, that I'm working on, and the homeowner has just moved into that house. It came to us about a situation that we knew nothing about, that would have been taken care of the seller prior to the homeowner. And now the homeowner who just bought the house has to take care of it legally.
Well, that's on them.
I think it's up to the
Like the
seller.
rest of it.
Yeah,
It's up to the seller to take care of it, wouldn't you
No.
say?
No,
No?
it's a
You think the
negotiable
homeowner
item.
should take care of that?
It's a negotiable item
Well,
at the
How do they
time.
not,
know,
what if
how
it's
do they
something
know
that's
that's an
not
issue,
permitted?
such as, how many people, I'll state this is a fact. A person will know more about their used Yugo than they will their brand new house, which is the largest investment they ever make in their life. The average person will not go through it like most of us will. Okay, they will sit there, they'll take a home inspection, all right, and they will purchase that house without knowing whether or not it conforms to local jurisdictions, because home inspectors, though by law they're driven to go to the local municipality and find out when that house was built and if all the permits and everything is taken care of in there. No, I have, in my 20 years of municipal work, I've never had a home inspector come to the municipality and check that stuff.
Well, some of my house has been so old, there weren't permits.
There probably weren't, and that's fine, but I'm gonna tell you something else. Go back to that situation. A home inspector comes into your house today, okay, a perfect example. We had a house over in Hatfield. It was built in 1920. It still had knob and tube wiring, okay?
Right.
85-year-old lady selling it. The home inspector comes in and turns to her and says, you have to put GFIs in. She doesn't know any different.
That's to all the wiring, all rewiring, you can't do that.
They didn't do that.
To-
Right, but they just put it in on knob and tube.
Can't-
What I'm driving at is that at that point, we were able to intercept that through the UNO process to keep her from spending, she was quoted $1,200 to put them in without changing the wiring. Now, GFI stands for ground fault interrupter. Knob and tube doesn't have a ground, so therefore that GFI would have never had a ground and still would have electrocuted somebody. Folks, it's amazing in today's world how many people just walk into a house and they're overwhelmed and they just buy it. What we do here is strictly to give us the opportunity, one, to get the information of who's moving in, but two, to go through the house and make sure it's conforming.
But you're asking for things like paint.
No, we didn't say.
We're reading
Yes,
this list.
you are.
We're reading
Did you
this
read
list.
this?
No, you
No.
didn't read this.
No,
then, because it
obviously
does
you
say-
haven't read this.
Keep
Okay.
civil.
And it does say that.
Okay.
And I'm thinking, you
I
know,
apologize, I did not.
number one, probably somebody would come into my house and they would gut my house
Well,
because it's old, okay? Or they're going to take out walls and that kind of thing. Why would I want to paint and do that kind of stuff?
So
No,
there's an
I-
option for that. So if you as the seller and the buyer agree that the buyer is going to take on all the responsibility of UNO because they're gonna be doing so much construction to the house, you do have the option of signing the construction waiver. And then at that point, the buyer then is responsible for making sure that they meet all the standards. So you still sell your house, the buyer acknowledges that that none of the list is
But I
completed.
have windows that are from the 1800s. They,
right,
you know what? I use a stick because they didn't make windows like this. So you're suddenly telling me I have to get windows in order to sell my house.
Lawns and landscaping are not to be overgrown, exterior grounds to be free of debris. I have neighbors I can't get rid of debris.
I don't know why we want to even enter this conversation. Like, why do we want to get, like, I understand, of course, we want houses to be safe. But I don't understand why we want to insert ourselves in the middle of this when there actually already exists a process. And if we're upset that, if we are upset that the inspectors don't come to us, well, then that's our problem. We need to talk to the inspectors about coming to us. But I feel like this is taking on a headache.
Yes, I'll tell you why most towns do it, and I'm not advocating one way or another.
Yeah.
They do it because it ends up affecting borough residents versus someone who sold their house and left, right? So you have folks that move in, something wasn't done, you have the ability to try to help them out at this process. Most people are waiving inspections right now, there are no home inspections. So that's why I've seen municipalities do it now, but it's entirely up to you guys. You're a little out of the ordinary for not having one. But again, it's within your discretion.
And I haven't heard of, residents coming in and, complaints and concern that they've got $10,000 or more to make up just, to occupy.
Well, this is, yeah, like that's more of what you're gonna negotiating with your home inspector, because they're gonna be looking at the big ticket items that will cost you that.
And that's optional, if people don't need to have a home inspector.
That's their choice, and we tell them that too, we're not your home inspector, don't expect us to go check your whatever that they would normally check, we're not going your attic, we're not going your crawl spaces, that's not what we do, we're not the be all end all, don't negotiate your final prices off us, negotiate your final deals off of your own home inspector.
But if we're doing that, then I don't even see why we need this.
Well, one of the things that I thought was good on this, and that was the sidewalk and apron inspection, because it's a problem. It's a big ticket. It can be a big ticket item to fix the sidewalks, to get them level, and that will, if there are problems with it, better to have it done when the building is sold. That way the homeowner isn't hit with a, can be several $1,000 repair for sidewalks. And it's not obvious to him that he has to do anything about it.
But Peter, we already have that. I mean, a few years ago, we had somebody that went around the borough checking where there were sidewalks had lifted, and people were notified that they had to repair their sidewalk because there was a trip hazard. And that is something that we have, that the borough can go around and do that at any time, not when someone's selling the property.
It's true, but it's expensive for us to do it, to hire somebody to go around, taking photographs and measuring it.
But if that's a concern or something you think that's beneficial because of the sidewalks, then that's something that the borough would have to find the money to do the inspection and do.
I imagine that something like this would probably have helped my husband and I in our particular situation, because it probably would have caught the fact that our basement floods.
It's not on the list.
But that being said, I feel like that was really the homeowner's job to disclose that.
That was because actually, Lori, the whole
was.
neighborhood knew that your basement flooded.
I know, and they didn't tell me.
I mean,
Really?
yes.
Everybody knew.
I didn't know.
Everybody knew.
You gotta go around and talk to everyone before you.
I know, I'm just kidding. We're glad we moved.
I thought it's a disclosure form that's mandatory.
Oh, yeah.
No, that
Is
should
it?
have.
$100.
How long does that?
So what does that guarantee?
But I think it's really under.
Guaranteed you can have another bill and fix the stuff
Right.
fine.
I'd like to question what our solicitor said about that most municipalities do have a UNO.
They do.
Because, I could tell you which ones don't. I had done this when the Historic Preservation Committee was against this 4 years ago when this was brought up at planning. And planning had the good sense to table it or to not do it. Because there's a lot of historic properties in the borough. And they're just not going to be able to comply with all of those rules and regulations. And so what I did 4 years ago, I went and I contacted 22 municipalities, all of the Central Bucks School District municipalities, and then a bunch more. There are 9 school district municipalities, and I contacted 13 more. So I contacted 22, and I just contacted them today. I either called them or if they didn't answer, I checked their website. And out of the 22, 10, yes, do have a UNO, but 12 do not. I could give you this list.
No, no,
Check it out.
I don't need, I'm just
So,
telling you.
most of them don't, in the Bucks
In
County
this
area.
area, sure, I'm sure that you're correct.
Well, anyway, so also, there's also, a seller's disclosure, 11-page seller's disclosure that goes through all kinds of stuff. I mean, that helps safeguard the buyer. And then, like you all have said, most people buyers get a home inspector.
Not anymore, not today.
Well, that's.
Yeah, they
That's
do.
No, no, I know, I'm just saying, that's not a reality.
I mean, that's just the last year or two because of the
Yeah.
shortage of houses and people wanting houses and
exactly,
overpaying and all that, but.
But in 10 years, it may be popular.
Yep.
Well, even a few years.
Well,
it's
in-
smart
in
either way.
6 months, it's gonna be popular again. But people, I think it's on the owner and the seller to work that out.
Yeah, you negotiate.
Buyer and the seller.
And I mean, if the borough wants to have right away, know who's moving in, then you could talk to real estate agents and tell them when there's a settlement, or title insurance companies,
Well, I don't
when there's a
understand what the
settlement.
$10 filing fee is and that we pay when we file a deed.
They still file it. It
So
just
we
takes a
file
while
it
to get
with the
back to
borough,
us.
but we file it right directly with the borough. We send it to the borough.
We just collected deeds, so I don't really.
We get it out of the county, remember?
No, we make the recommends, we get most of the title companies, you get it's a $10 fee to send
It's
to
a
the borough.
$10
We also get transfer tax. The borough gets a transfer tax, right?
No, it's a $10.
No, transfer
filing.
tax.
Well, $10, but we get transfer tax when there's a real estate, procedure. So we know then. And that's usually within a month or so of the settlement.
Tony?
Yeah, just two quick things. One of which is I guess the term I'm looking at is, I think this looks like a solution in search of a problem. And the other question I would have is, what sort of liability are we opening the borough up to?
No liability. No, there's no liability.
So we're good.
Well,
Yeah,
for the buyers, there's a lot of good.
You
right?
mean if we certify,
There's no liability whatsoever.
Well,
Yeah,
so in other words, if one of a representative from the borough comes in and says that a handrail in my house is safe, somebody buys my house, a month later, they fall down and break their neck because the handrail
There's
collapsed.
no liability, no. The borough has governmental immunity from any liability like that. That doesn't mean they're not gonna look back to us.
See, I was gonna say, a number of my lawyer friends would say, I could sue, and then we would just see what happened, but I know no lawyer would attempt to do that. in Bucks County.
No, that's my point, right? I mean,
Well,
the borough would still
and I
get
guess
pulled
the
into it.
thing is, it seems to me like why get involved in playing this game if we don't have to, I guess would be my question. Thank you.
Just a question, so it's $100.
So the fees just in the paperwork, there's no set fee, it's just the number that I've used in the past, that's just what's in there right now. Cause the
Is
fee would
that
have
the
to,
lifetime of me living in my house? So if you come in now and someone doesn't buy my house for 30 more years?
no, you'd have, there's I think within like 30 days or so within it. So you wouldn't be able to do it right now if you're not selling your house right now.
So only when you want to
Only
sell
when
your
you wanna
house,
sell your house.
you come in?
Yeah.
And you would do, okay.
If
But
you're not
then it
selling,
only lasts 30 days?
it's
No.
whatever you would come up with, whatever number that would.
Because, I mean, it could take longer. So you're not requiring
To
everyone,
sell the
it wouldn't be everyone do it now. It would be.
No.
No, we would do it 30 days prior to closing
Yeah, prior to
because of
settlement.
exactly that.
Yeah.
If the house may go on the market 6 months before that, but it
That's
may
what I
change
meant,
4 or
yeah.
5 people. So usually 30 days prior to your closing, that's pretty well set in stone by that point.
Yeah, but it's only when you sell it. It's not something that we would go around and make everyone do right now. And again, the list and the fee are just here. It's nothing that's set in stone. If council chooses to go forward, they can take out things, add things, whatever they want to do. It was just a list that I've used in the past as a baseline.
Do you want us to quickly let you know whether or not we're interested?
Yeah.
Because, cause I think it might be silly to waste time on it, cause I don't think many of us are interested.
That's fine. It was just something that has come up in discussions, and so I wanted to present it as a discussion point.
Yeah.
tonight.
No,
It
yeah,
has
no.
come up several times, so.
So Excuse me. Are you allowed to do that? You
Yeah.
you as a borough council, are you allowed to do that to us, make us do that?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't think you are.
Yes.
I'll get my state attorney
Sounds
to
like
find
they're
out.
not.
Well, the thing is, let's just, like, I think the feeling as a result of this discussion, I think, is that we're probably not gonna pursue this. So we're probably not going to spend it, right? Is that the feeling we're
If you
not?
don't
Can
question
you,
the
can
authority,
you
We don't wanna-
straw vote?
We don't wanna spend any more time worrying
Right,
about it, right?
let's do a straw
Laura,
vote.
you need to take a vote.
We're not voting.
I
We-
don't
No,
know.
no, 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 no.
Well, it's not a vote. It's not, it was discussion, but
It's
the,
not on the agenda for a vote.
yeah.
you don't question authority, you lose your humanity. So we're questioning.
Well, it's not
That's
probably
not
gonna come
funny,
up on
that's
next,
true.
next council meeting's agenda, so, right?
No, I think
We're
that was,
leaving
it was on there
Yeah.
to address the stuff that it, question that it's come up several times, I wanted
Yeah.
direction on what I wanted to do.
Exactly.
That's what a lot of
No
people-
decision made, we're not gonna talk about
That direction is pretty much.
A vigorous
Yeah,
discussion.
Well, I mean, planning did it before. We had a council, it came before council before,
4 years ago.
and we said no, and planning said no, and
New council members, and they said no too, so I think that.
It's not going anywhere.
it.
Okay, the next item is resident remarks, and please, leave those, this last topic, any other remarks that residents might have.
I just want to thank Tom and the Bird Town Committee and the Parks and Rec Committee and the Nature Preserve Committee and the Orchard Park Committee. No, it's just it's the Park Committee. For all the great work. The Shade Tree.
And I
For all the great work.
It was really nice kind of having that summarized in that
Yes,
way.
it was.
Hopefully that was helpful to everybody.
we got a family of foxes in our backyard, 5 babies, maybe 6.
Oh, they were from our neighborhood.
And, so I think we got a real wildlife habitat back there.
Keep them down there, please.
I got a lot of chickens. A lot of chickens.
There go your chickens, Laura.
I have a question in reference.
That was the mink to get the chicken, the mink.
I have a question in reference to the signage at the east end of the borough. We had a commitment from Mr. Steve Gilmore to pay for a monument at the east end of the borough, basically mimicking the one at the west end of the borough. And why isn't it there?
It's in the process.
It's in the
Amanda.
process of getting quotes, and Steve has since amended his, pledge that he'd only pay for a portion of it, assuming that there's other, entities that would cover the remaining portions of it as well. So we're still getting quotes from people. It's just taking a while to get some of the local vendors have said that the quote time is gonna take them a couple of weeks to get it. So I'm trying to get several different quotes. So that way we make sure we're getting.
Didn't you get
There was somebody else that weighed in, wasn't there? That said that they would help.
Yeah, I thought
Yes.
somebody else was willing to help.
Was that going on the American Heritage,
That's
property?
up past there.
Yeah,
Past
yeah.
right?
It would be in that general area. I think it actually would
I
end
think
up
they
on
might wanna
Foundations.
kick in.
foundation.
I think it'll end up on Foundation's property is actually where it's proposed.
Thank
It's also
you.
nice to see the progress on the gas station across. the road.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Woo.
Sure is.
Getting close.
Getting
Mike,
close.
Mike can tell you that we're almost there.
That's great. I'm going to make a very brief resident remark, and that is, and this is to push a local business that's quite new. I don't know if you have tried Delicia's Pizza right next to the 7-Eleven. It is absolutely superb. They use genuine mozzarella cheese. And it's, it is delicious.
It's delicious.
I'm there.
Delicious.
It's where the old Franco's went.
Yeah, well, right.
One more.
So, and that's where I'm going right after this.
They got a sturdy wine also.
Sadly.
Maybe they'll pay for a slide after that.
All right, may I have a motion to adjourn? Your second?
Can I ask one question before we go? So, I wouldn't mind, talking about at some point, possibly changing the dates from the second Tuesdays for the meetings. It boxes us out of ever going to school board meetings. And as of late, there's some school board meetings that I wouldn't mind going to. I just want to float it out there and see if there's any possibility of changing it to a different night. I know.
Years and years and years.
I know, but it will be a matter of everybody. Maybe we just talk about it at the next meeting.
More things?
Yeah,
We have to, I think there's a couple of dates on the calendar that you could move to for the most part without having to move somebody else around. But your room schedule is incredibly tight.
I would be interested in that also.
We can never, ever go to that school board meeting.
yeah, well, I tell you what, since it principally affects staff, since the rest of us have a little more freedom, why don't you look and see what days could possibly work for you guys, and then we'll let you the rest.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Do we have a second?
Yes.
Sure.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.